for always being willing to step up and do whatever you need to do. It's always so grateful, and you do such a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful meditation. I hope everyone can hear me. Yes. Okay. What I want to talk about today is something I call the 2021 word of the month. Instead of making New Year's resolutions, which I stopped doing some years ago, it occurred to me about mid-January when I kept hearing about New Year's resolutions that I could pick a word and make it my word of the month. And that I would think about it, meditate on it, maybe even sing about it, wonder about it, ask people about it, and recall my own experiences around it. So the February word of the month is grace. And so I went to the dictionary, Merriam-Webster, and true story, I was one of those kids who used to read the dictionary just to learn new words. We had one of those big, hardback dictionaries at the house. I grew up in the 60s, so we had books all around. Anyway, I would run to the dictionary and look up a word I didn't know, or just read it sometimes to learn new words. Anyway, grace, according to Merriam-Webster, has several definitions. The one we commonly think of is it's defined as unmerited divine assistance given to humans for their regeneration or sanctification. Another definition of grace is a short prayer said at a meal, asking blessings or giving thanks. Most of us are familiar with that. Another definition is approval or favor. For example, so-and-so stayed in their family's good graces. Another definition is ease or suppleness. For example, saying that someone danced with a great amount of grace. And then another definition is a period officially allowed for payment of a sum due for compliance with a law or condition. For example, you get a 5-day grace period to pay your rent. I tried to look at other religions to see what I could find about grace. And I, not being a scholar, I didn't have much luck. It seems that grace is, I guess I would say predominantly in what I found, a Christian theology. In Western Christian theology, it's defined as the love and mercy given to us by God because God desires us to have it, not necessarily because of anything we have done to earn it. It is not asked for nor deserved, but is freely given. I did find in some of the other religions and in Old Testament readings, the concept of mercy, which is sometimes used interchangeably, but it is, I think, a different animal. It's an act which is meant to relieve someone of their suffering. Heard it described that mercy is not getting the punishment that you deserve, and grace is being blessed even when you don't deserve it. I also ran across the concept of luck, and that's defined as success or failure brought about by chance rather than through one's own actions. So looking at these words and definitions, I came upon a person that I thought was interesting, and that is John Newton, who was born in 1725. And many of you have heard of him or know of him. His mother died at the age of 7, and he wound up being a crew member on his father's merchant ships by the time he was 10 or 11 years old. And by 1745, when he was about 20, he was a slave trader. He was an alcoholic. He was feared and despised by everyone who knew him. And he was just not a very nice person. He went on slave ships back and forth from Africa, the African continent. And on the way back in 1948, there was a storm at sea. And this was his moment to meet God. And he didn't at that moment, but over the following years, he had a spiritual conversion and eventually got out of the slave trade. And at the age of 39, he became an ordained minister. He co-wrote poems and hymns with a man named William Cowper. And his most famous poem was actually titled Faith's Review and Expectation, which is now known by its opening phrase, Amazing Grace. I've decided to recite this poem in its original format to you rather than sing it, because as my mother used to say, I was standing behind the door when God handed out the singing voices. So I will spare you me having to sing this. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe this far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yes, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. This earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine. But God who called me here below will be forever mine. I like that. So I ask you, where or when in your life have you experienced grace? Did you see a door or a window open where you had not been a door or window before? And did you walk through and later look back and be amazed at what happened? I looked back at, over my life while I was preparing for this, remembering periods of grace and times of grace, and smiling at how this amazing journey has progressed. My most profound gift of grace came in 1987, and that was when my mom entered a facility for the treatment of alcoholism. I loved and still love my mom, and I'm not telling stories on her because I feel that she has passed. But part of her story is the catalyst for my grace. At the time, family members were strongly encouraged to attend Al-Anon meetings at the facility where my mom was. Some of you may or may not know, alcoholism is considered a family disease. And attending Al-Anon for family members can help members of the family mend their relationships that have been damaged during the course of the person's illness. It can also help family members detach from the behavior of the alcoholic and be able to not like their behavior, but love the person. So I began attending Al-Anon meetings and started to understand some of my own issues. In fact, I was kind of relieved because I thought, that's my problem. I'm the child of an alcoholic. And let me be clear. I had a good childhood. I was always cared for physically. And, had two parents who I know loved me. But I also know that, again, alcoholism is a family disease. There's a hereditary link. And I know that my parents did the best with what they had and what they knew at the time. They supported me and my two children after I was divorced so that I could finish college. And that allowed me to have a 40-year career in laboratory medicine. And I am eternally grateful to them. At the time, I stopped drinking mostly out of fear, because suddenly this thing was being talked about. But I also wanted to support my mom and show her that what she was doing was a good thing. After about 6 months of attending Al-Anon meetings, I somehow was drawn into attending Aaa Speaker Meetings. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they have different kinds of meetings, and the speaker meetings are where people are give a talk, 30 minutes or an hour talk, where they talk about their story of what their life was like, what happened to bring them to Alcoholics Anonymous, and then what their life has been like since. And so I started hearing stories that I could relate to. In fact, the first time I heard my story, so to speak, was a 35-year-old man who had a totally different life from me. But what I related to was his feelings and his inability to not drink when he wanted to not drink. And so over probably another few months, I began to realize that I too was an alcoholic. And so I made a decision to be in recovery, and to take the steps and live the lifestyle that are compatible with that. So fast forward, without a lot of boring detail, this past November, I marked 33 years of sobriety. And there's not a day that goes by that I am not grateful for the grace that got me here, and grateful to my mother who led the way. So that is my story of grace, my mean story of grace. So I ask you once again, where have you seen grace in your life? Can you recall a time when you were in a box and couldn't see a door or a window, but one appeared? Maybe you didn't know it at the time. I certainly didn't know it at the time. I thought my life was over. I thought nothing but bad things were going to happen. I didn't know there could be a life without alcohol. So if you've come this far in life and you're not able to recognize any instance of grace, just wait. Because this amazing divine gift is waiting for you. You don't have to earn it. It helps if you're aware when it happens. Because you are a child of infinite intelligence. You're a child of the universe. This is something that is open to you, whether you use it or not. So think about it. Take some time when you're folding laundry or when you're washing dishes or when you're out walking or chasing dust balls around your house, and ask yourself if you can recall any periods or times of grace. And I would love to hear them offline sometime when we physically get to see each other again. I thank you.